nobody is like, oh my God, Taylor Swift wrote another song. Boo, right? If you are doing your business and it's about your business, talk about it every single day. You're not annoying people. Welcome to Lessons from the Ashes, the space where rising from the ashes is more than just a story, it's a movement. I'm your host, Stephanie Rose, and each week I sit down with unstoppable entrepreneurs who face life's toughest challenges and turn them into powerful comebacks. Together, we dive into the raw, unfiltered stories of resilience, business triumphs, and the personal journeys that shaped it all. If you're ready to be inspired by real-life phoenixes rising from the flames, you've come to the right place. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to Lessons from the Ashes, a West Rose Media podcast. I am really excited to be here with a new guest of the podcast. Leigh is here, and we have connected on Instagram and decided we are going to dive back into another brand deep dive. I'm very excited from the last time we did this and how deep we actually got, how many answers we got, how many questions came up, and how simple it can be to really define your brand and then get the help you need. So welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about what you do?
Sure. Thank you. I'm very honored to be here. So this is exciting for me. My name is Leigh Marino. I am a creator of Encourage Thought, which is my sole proprietor business. It's evolved a lot over the years. It's basically just kind of followed my passions and evolved, as those evolved throughout the years. So currently what I do right now for money and as my business is I do digital media creation. So I do website design, I do graphic design, I do photography, I do some videography, some copywriting, merch design, all kinds of things like that. Where I am evolving to is, well, I do really enjoy all of those things. I'm evolving to a place where I want to tell my own stories. I've written 2 children's books. One I published myself, and the second one that just was released about a month ago was with a publisher and an illustrator and the whole sales team and all that jazz. So where I'd love to go is to be more about me and use my skills to, sell my products and tell my stories to the world. I want to create animated short film. I want to write and direct feature films. So that's my background. I went to film and TV, school for film and TV. And, so I have this kind of conundrum where, if it was just me marketing what I do, I feel like that would kind of be simple. But because I'm evolving to this place where, it's new, it's still new. And so it's just like, I feel like I'm this caterpillar in the soup, I'm like the soup.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite formed as the butterfly yet. So it's like all swarming and I don't have like a focus. Like, this is what to do. This is who I'm talking to. And this is how I sell what I want to sell or communicate what I want to communicate. So it's a lot of playing what I do right now on my social media.
I love that. And you know what? I think that's like really common is we're always evolving and changing. And people are always like, well, how do I like make money now, but like also plan for the future? And how do I like market what I'm doing now? And also like change it for what's going forward. So let's for sure dig into like how we're going to gracefully get you out of the soup and into the butterfly on the internet. And I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of questions and I'm going to rip through a whole bunch of notes and then we'll circle back to some things. So it's okay that you don't have everything figured out. None of us do. So tell me about the bulk of how you're making your money at this moment.
It's all the things
services?
I told you at
Okay.
first.
So the websites, the content, the pictures.
Yeah. Yep.
So of those things,
yeah.
Which is like your biggest seller, the thing that's making you the most money at this moment, would you say?
Well, it's kind of all of those things because I have like one specific client that I do all of those things for.
Okay.
I used to have a bunch of different clients. Now it's kind of evolved to just one main one. I have another one that I do occasional work for. but this main one is also my family's business. So I have another, and I'm invested in that, seeing that succeed as well, because it's my boyfriend's family, it's his parents, it's his brother, it's a family business.
Right. So that's something you'll want to keep doing then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, to some extent. Like if I were to be out there filming, for months on end, I'd be like, sorry guys, I can't design your, shirts right now, but I would love to continue to help them in the future. I love photography, and designing creatively online is really also fun for me. So yeah.
And in a perfect world, would you want to get more clients doing the website, the content, the photos, that kind of, or would you like to shortly be like, no, I want to do the books, I want to do the films, I want to do the animation?
Yes, second.
The second one. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about then your Instagram, your online presence, let's focus on where you're going then, because you have a solid client that's going to pay the bills for now, which takes out a whole chunk of like the worry that a lot of people have. So if you were still trying to actively get clients for that portion, I would say, let's do a separate Instagram for that. And like, let's just go hard on that ideal client so that you can get enough money to like reach these eventual goals. But if we know that that client, obviously because it's family connection, they're not going to ditch you. You've got that in the bag for now. So I would say, let's take this entire process that we're going to do and focus it on the future. And like, what are we going to start talking about now so that when you're ready to be out of the soup and the butterfly, how are we going to already have a hot audience for this next version of your life? So if you could just like, in a perfect world, in 6 months from now, what would it look like? What kind of clients would you be working with? What kind of projects, even if you can't really necessarily nail down the clients, like what kind of projects would you be doing? And what would like the day-to-day look like?
In 6 months from now, I would be working on pre-production for the animated short film that's based off of the book that just came out.
Okay.
So that's my next plan. I have a book tour. It's a holiday Christmas book. So pretty much from Thanksgiving here in the US to Christmas, I'm booked all those weekends doing signings and readings. So I don't really want to, overwhelm myself with that, with anything other than that for right now. Yeah. My vision is come New Year, I have a first draft of the screenplay for the animated short film based on this book. And I want to start looking for producers who can help me raise money, come up with a budget, find people, to hire who would help us make this project happen. So in 6 months from now, that's what I would be doing. Ideally. Okay.
I love that.
All the time. Full time. And, posting stuff on Instagram, making reels and videos, talking about things that are inspiring to me and important to me.
I love that.
That's what I would love to do.
That sounds amazing. So tell me more about the book and who it's for. Like, who's reading this book?
So it's a children's book, but it's one of those stories that connects with anyone for all ages. It's I'm marketing it sort of as there's a big element of grief and loss in this story. So I have people who run grief and loss nonprofits for children who are going to be using this book in their group sessions with kids. But it's not only for that. I mean, everyone in life has had some sort of grief and loss. So it's relatable in that way. It is a Christmas story, but you don't have to celebrate Christmas to appreciate it. It's not religious in any way. It's more of, it's about a Christmas tree. So it's more about the nature element. It's about destiny. It's about diversity and acceptance and learning about others and community and support, how to get through difficult challenges. So, it can be marketed to this one specific group, but it also can be marketed to a greater audience. When I've read it to a lot of my friends and family, I would say about 85% of them cry when I read them the story. So it connects with people emotionally strongly. And it's a kind of a classic story that's very unique, that you've never heard a story like this before, but when you read it, you're like, this is the classic. Like, it feels like it's been around.
Okay. I love that. So when you're talking about it being a holiday um, book, it's something that like takes place at Christmas, but I think like the lead up to Christmas, probably because you're doing all of the book readings and the book tour. What kind of places are you going to be doing that at?
So, bookshops, coffee shops, some Christmas tree farms. I have some readings and signings there, things like that. Barnes and Noble. There's a bookshop in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which is Moravian bookshop. It's the oldest bookshop in the country. And Bethlehem is like Bethlehem, PA, like really does it up for Christmas. So it's like a great place for the holidays.
That's cool. I did not know that. Okay, so basically, if we're going to look at who your ideal client would be, I would say if we're going to start really pushing the book and then later the production of the actual film, then we need to speak to the audience who's going to love it, cherish it, and be like, hey, this is a classic. Like, this is something I want to like hand down. I want to like get the deluxe edition. I want to get like the hardcover. I want to like write it, gift this to all the families in my family, that kind of thing. I think that's where the key is going to lie, is bringing it generational and also to educators and people who are using it as a tool, like for the grief that you were talking about. So I think a 2-part focus onto kind of looking at it as content that would work for both people. But really, those are the 2 kind of groups that you're going to be looking at. So the people who are going to be purchasing it is probably like in like the grandparents, the people who are heading up a family who realize like, this is such an important message. I'm going to buy multiple copies for multiple people. And then if they love it and they really cherish it and you talk about like why it's important and what it matters to you that you wrote it, right? Obviously, there's a personal story behind it. Then they're going to become champions of it. And then that's where you're going to get the backing if you want to like do a Kickstarter or something like that for the actual film. Because we need some like raving fans, some like educators who can speak up and be like, hey, this book helped me change these people's lives. And people who are like, hey, this helped our family through the hardest thing, and starting to share some of those stories. So have you had any, you said people who read it, you read it too, they cry and they talk about that. Have you had experiences where people have come up to you and told you those stories, or how has that gone so far?
Well, mostly it's been when I've read it to people, like one-on-one. It's more of like a private experience. Like, I've thought about, oh, should I maybe film someone while I'm reading it to them? But that feels a little invasive to me.
Okay.
So it's mostly been just, personal experiences where they cry and they're like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, don't apologize. Like, this is why I wrote this. Like, that means you connect to it, and it's important to feel your feelings. I do feel like I could have, one of the ways that I found my publisher was through this woman who is the founder of a nonprofit for grief and loss, where she goes into schools and helps children process this. And I read her the story. She cried. She said, Leigh, I'm going to help you find a publisher for this book because I want this book and I want to use this with my kids. So she went home and she emailed me a list of the books that she currently used and the names of the publishers that publish those books. And that was how I found my publisher. So she's a huge champion of this story. She's one of the reasons why it's now out there. She's definitely someone that I could potentially interview, or just have her, say something. Again, it's like a little bit of a weird space where like, I don't want to be invading people who are grieving and having personal experiences and like a group therapy with kids. I wouldn't necessarily want to like, I don't know, film something like that or share that, but we could talk about it.
I think,
for
yes,
sure.
talking about it for sure. Like if you had this person sounds like a great way, like a great kickoff to really like starting to talk all about like the book and you and how this is going, because I think that the more you can have, because if other educators can recognize like the things she'll say, we often try to make content around like what are the ideal clients actually saying, instead of like wondering or wishing or making up things that sound more corporate. Like what are the actual words they're saying? So an actual educator who could truly say like, this is how it helped the kids that I'm working with in these specific situations. Like they don't have to give away the names or that
Right.
anything, right? Like they could say they're going through blank, whatever, the loss of a parent or things like that. And you could talk about the specific tools and they could be like, hey, this is how I used it to get this outcome. And the more that we can have content around that, I think that would be huge, because that's the kind of thing that's going to really be shared amongst other educators. And then you're going to get more of those like raving fans, because it sounds like this woman was so invested in you publishing this book that she like put her own skin in the game, basically. And the more of those that you can get, then that's how you're going to start opening doors for like the actual production of the film, all of these things. So I think that mapping out some content, even if you send her a message and be like, hey, I'm really trying to promote the book. Would it be okay if we got on even a Zoom call and like chatted about it, and then I could use the clips for social media? Do you think she'd be open to something like that?
Yeah. Yep, I do.
Okay. So when you're doing that, I would say the main things is if you can just be super candid with her and be like, hey, this is what we're going for. Like, I'm going to ask you questions that are going to lead you into saying these specific things. And she'll probably be very open to that, right? Because we want her to say, this helped me as an educator because of this, right? Or this helped me help get this child from not coping in the day to actually understanding something they were going through, or this helped a family get through this kind of experience. If you can really write out some questions and get her to be saying things like that, then I think that's the kind of content that's really going to speak to the educators, those specific outcomes, right? Like when we're trying to sell a product, we're telling people like, what is this product going to do to help their life? But if it's a very emotional story, then we have to be way more specific on like, how is it going to help kids who've been through something? How is it going to help, families, like even kids of different ages? Like you're talking about how it's generational. You could talk about, how kids, because family units never have kids that are the same ages unless they're twins, how it's helped different ages get to the same outcome, that kind of thing. So if we could have content around how it's actually helping people, I think that would be huge. And is it like available for purchase right now, or what's the timeline on that?
Yep, it is.
So it's already for sale. What kind of places is it for sale? Like what kind of audience are we looking at?
It's for sale anywhere you can buy books. So it's on Amazon, it's on Target.com, it's on BarnesandNoble.com. You can find it easily online, and then it's in bookstores and things like that.
Okay. And is that like worldwide or just America, or how does that look?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
Okay. So once you find that out, I think that will be important, because then you're going to really choose, like that's going to narrow who you're talking to. Right. So if it's available worldwide, then I feel like just go for it. Like make all this content. If it's only available in the US right now, you could say something like available in the US now, coming soon worldwide, things like that. And then maybe speak to like things that are specifically happening in America, right? Like if your kid is dealing with whatever, and insert some kind of news thing that is happening in that location. So then people in that location will connect to it. If it's worldwide, then like go for it kind of thing for any kind of grief.
Right.
And then I would say also, when we're talking about the educators and the people who are helping people, I think talking about how this is going to make it easier for them, how it's going to make it more streamlined for them, where they can like direct parents to get it for themselves. Like even if the educator maybe doesn't have the budget to buy 20 of these books, like how can they be like, if you're an educator and this is the kind of clients you're working with, like you can suggest this as a Christmas present. You can suggest this as a gift that parents could buy, grandparents could buy, teachers could buy, that kind of thing. Showing more options. I think especially when you're working with people who are a little more tied in by budget, it's a little more tricky to have them be like, hey, buy all this stuff. And they're like, oh, my budget's $12, that kind of thing. So talking about like alternate ways they can get it will be super important. Okay. And then, so I think, yes, if you can get her to come on the podcast or not on the podcast, even just to like talk online, that would be amazing. And then use that over and over again until you get more people. And then you can even say, like, if you're an educator and this has helped you, please reach out to me. Because then you'll have more and more of that social proof. And that's the kind of thing that's going to just make it blow up.
Okay.
So where are you all promoting it right now?
Mainly through Instagram, Facebook.
Instagram, Facebook.
And then I'm doing the readings and the signings. So the publisher does have a sales team. I don't know what they do. They're the ones who got it all, like on Target.com. They're the ones, they sent out postcards to a bunch of Christmas tree farms in the area with a discount code. Here's how you can buy the book wholesale, sell it, on your farm. I don't know what else. Like, I know there was an intern who was trying to get me on some sort of a podcast, but I don't really know. Like, yeah, it's like this, I don't know. It's a little disconnected.
Yeah.
So I like do what I can and like all the readings and stuff I've planned, but then, like getting it on Amazon, they do all that stuff. So I'm just learning. Like this is my first time doing this. So
I have like only recently started talking to more authors and they just like seem to be popping up in my life. And the biggest thing that I've heard from them is that the more self-promotion you can do, the better everything goes, and to not rely on the publisher's team. That's true. I would, if I was going to give advice on this, I would shift your entire Instagram to the book or start a new one and have it like, make sure that it is like fully about like you as the author and the book until you get to the video stage, so that it's super clear. Like as soon as I arrive on your page, I want to know like, what is the book? What's like the, one sentence breakdown of what the book is and who is it for, over and over and over again. Because that's where you're going to get people who are like, oh, what is this? And then they go and they scroll back and they look. Because what we want to do is we want to hook people in with content that's going to be like really eye-catching, really like, oh, like this, something like a short reel or a video that's like, this book helped Tommy get through this thing in his life and it can help your students too. And then people are like, wait, what? Like, that's like a really eye-catching thing. And then they come to your page and they see more things like you talking to doing something at a Christmas tree farm. And then you talking about what inspired you to write the book, you telling the story of how this person said, I absolutely need this book to help others. All of this extra content that's going to be like, oh, like people are like, this is like a whole thing. Like, this isn't just a one-off book. Like this is a whole thing now. Like it's going to be a movement. It's going to be a classic. When you said it's an instant classic, like it's something that feels like it's going to be around for generations. We need to start setting that feeling up now and talking about like how grandparents are buying it for all of the families, like every set of cousins is getting this book, that kind of content to really show it has impact beyond just please buy this book, and showing the impact on the families, showing the impact on multiple generations. Like even if we're switching to the other side of like the other part of your ideal client, which would be families, if you could even find a family who'd be willing to take a video of like a grandparent reading a book to a kid and then like the mom sitting there too, something like that would just be, I think, huge for this, because you're showing it's like across generations. You're showing that has impact beyond just like the book. You're showing, even a video of a kid like running and grabbing the book out of a box and being like, I need to read this every year. Like it's become a tradition, things like that kind of like emotional connection, especially around Christmas. Like everything's about the feelings, right? Like dive into that hard, like really into like, this is the story. This is why I wrote it. And if it feels like, oh, I don't want to like give the book away, I know that sometimes is like a worry.
Yeah.
You won't. People will still buy the book. Like, even if you did like a reading of a couple of the pages, or, obviously you don't want to give away the whole story, but like you sitting there reading and being like, this is the story, stuff like that, so that people really, really dive into it. Mm-hmm. And then it can get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the more you do that, the better it will go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Great. When I'm saying those things, which of those things are you like, I don't think I'll do that?
The only thing I get stuck up on in my mind right now is creating a new Instagram account.
Okay, so tell me about that.
Do I start over from scratch? Do I separate it? Do I keep it as so I have a personal Instagram that's just my name, but it's private. Mm-hmm. And then I have my business one, which is Encourage Thought, and that's public. And do I just try to focus that, or do I branch off and create its own? That's where I was like, I'm not sure.
Okay, so let's talk about it.
All those things that you're suggesting, I would love to do. Like, that all sounds great.
Okay, so let's talk about that. If we switched what you have now to only about the book, who would you be? Would there be any business you'd be losing?
I feel like maybe like, I mean, a lot of my followers are friends. So maybe they'd be like, all right, enough already. Like, tell me something else. I want to know about something else other than that. I bought your book. I bought 5 copies already. Like, oh, there's another Leigh, Encourage Thought post. If it was only about that.
So a couple things on that. First of all, if it's actually something that you want to like grow and turn into something bigger, you have to just think about only talking to your ideal clients. And if there's friends on there and they're like making you nervous, or you're like, they're going to be annoyed, then just remove them, or they'll remove themselves. But if it's going to truly be about the business, then you have to give yourself permission to just not feel like you're annoying people. Right? Like, I was talking about this on Instagram like 2 days ago. Nobody is like, oh my God, Taylor Swift wrote another song. Boo. Right? If you are doing your business and it's about your business, talk about it every single day. You're not annoying people. Okay. And if they're annoyed, then they'll leave, and they're not your ideal client because they're not buying 20 books.
Right.
Right?
What if I have other things I want to talk about though and share that are important to me that aren't related to the book?
Then I would say have somewhere personal where you can share those things. So if it's important to you to still have that, which is fine. I have personal accounts. Like, I have a personal TikTok where I just get to say all the things I want to say that are not related to my business. But I'm not going to take all the things I want to say and put them on my business page because it's confusing and it's not for my ideal client.
Right.
So I think one way or another, whether you take this account you have now, switch it to just the book, and then open a separate one that's just for like your musings and the things you care about, that's totally okay. Or you start a new one. Either way, if you feel like the fan base who is following you now is like truly your ideal client, then I would stick with that. If not, then just start a new one. Right.
I think a lot of people there are my ideal client. So,
right.
Yeah.
So if it's like your thoughts and feelings connected to the book and the future film and like where this is going, right? And you as an author, then for sure keep them on. But if you feel like you need a separate place, then just open another Instagram, post whatever you want. Doesn't matter at all. There's a lot of freedom in that. And I think a lot of people who do social media for a living, especially if you're making social media posts for that other client, it can become like tedious and you're like, oh, social media. And having a place where you can just like be creative and say whatever you want is actually, I think, incredibly beneficial.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Yeah. I think probably if you switch the one you have over to just simply about the book and you as an author, right? Like, so it could be you as an author, and then this is your most current offering for sure. Yeah. And then you talk about it the most until like, right. Like, there'll probably be a series someday. There'll probably be, right. If we're dreaming big, we don't want to make it just about this copy. So I would say making it about you as an author would probably be the best bet. And then at this moment, we're only talking about this book because that's what we have. But like in the future, we talk about all the things that are happening, right? And then having a separate account for the other things you care about and the other things that really matter to you.
Yeah.
How
Yeah,
does
that
that
makes
sound?
sense. Yeah, I can use my personal one to play around and say all that stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that I want to say.
Yeah. And that's okay. Like, I think people get really worried that every single thing they say has to be about their business. Like, no, you're a whole ass person outside of your business. Like, you get to have other things. But especially if you're going to pitch yourself as like, now I'm an author, and now I'm a screenwriter, and now I'm a producer of these things. Like, what is it that motivates me? Those are the kind of posts that would be huge, especially if, like, at this moment, we're selling the book, but in the future, we are getting investors for a film. We are talking about all these things. Like, how are they going to connect with you? How are people who, like this person who said, we need this book to be alive? Think about, there's 20 of those people out there who have money, right? Maybe they're not facilitators. Maybe they're investors. Maybe they're somebody who's like, I have an inheritance and I want to put it into something that matters to me. Think about that when you're talking about like who you are, why you do what you do, your background, like talking about how you're from the film industry and like you're also a writer. That's going to be huge, because then somebody who wants to invest in you is going to be like, oh, like she already knows what she's doing. Like, it's not going to be me just giving money to somebody who's random and who isn't going to be able to, utilize it. I think that is a fear when people want to give to like an organization or a charity or back something. They're like, well, am I going to see something from this, or am I going to lose my money? Right. So if you think short term in terms of like book sales, long term in terms of like, who am I? Why does this book matter? Why does writing and film in general matter to me? And start creating a whole bunch of content around that. And then in like the Christmas season, so I would say you could even start like right before Halloween, depending on, like, I'm already seeing Christmas stuff on my feed. So I think you could for sure start. You could for sure start earlier. So I would say like from mid-October till January, like the content is like hardcore, just the book, the Christmas feels, these things. And then in like those other seasons, when you're like, is it weird to like promote a Christmas book at this moment? Then you talk more about you, why you wrote the book, your film stuff, the other creative projects you're doing. So you keep people hooked, but you're not like in July being like, hey, you should buy this Christmas book, because people are like, right. It's not the right mood for it. So I think if you can map that out and like really get into that, then you're going to have a lot of success in keeping people around. So if we're going to talk about, let's like dive into that a little bit of like the.
Can I ask you one thing before you launch onto this part? As far as being an author, I would obviously, being a writer, write other things in my life, right? Like, what if I wrote a poem last night and I really want to share it, but it has nothing to do with my Christmas book? Do you feel, if you were my follower, if I came on and shared that poem, does that feel like it's out of left field, or does it feel like this is an appropriate thing for me to share as a writer?
I think that definitely depends on how you pitch the Instagram. So if you pitch it solely as, I'm a writer and these are the things I have available, then no, I don't think it's left field at all. I would just run it through. What I do is every single thing I'm planning to post, I think, does this matter to my ideal client? At this moment, your ideal client is grandparents, educators, and people with trust funds. So, right? Like, if we're being realistic, like, let's call it what it is. So if you think they would love that and enjoy it, then yes, because you never know, you might like, every couple of weeks post a little poem and then somebody's like, oh my God, where's the poetry book? Right? That's your next thing. But if it's like the book is about grief and it's for children, and then the poetry is like vampire smut, it might like really not translate. I don't know what kind of poetry. It's not that. Okay. But do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you think that your ideal client would love it and it translates to them, then absolutely. And if you don't think so, then I would just keep it separate. Right?
Yeah.
Even if you're like, oh, working on ideas for the next book, that kind of stuff. Or, this is like how my creative brain works, right? Like, I do very creative work. So sometimes I share other creative projects I'm doing, not because my ideal client can buy those things, but it shows my ideal client that like creativity isn't just something I do, it's a part of who I am. And that's why it's a benefit to hire me, because yes, I care as much about your outfit as I do about anything else. Like people are like, oh, is it too much if I share this? I'm like, no, I absolutely need to know what kind of boots you bought. Like, tell me all the things because it benefits my ideal client. Mm-hmm. So if you put it through that lens, especially like if we talk about like, who are you as a writer and why does it matter? That kind of content is going to be huge to be able to like do this long term. So I would say just make sure that you're like always putting it through that lens of like,
yep,
does my ideal client give a shit?
That's very helpful. Thank you.
In the most basic way, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we're talking about like pitching you as the author, as the thing, what are some of the things that like, why did you write a book? Like, let's talk about that.
Why did I write a book?
Yeah.
I did not plan to write a book.
Okay.
Both times I did not plan to write a book. The first one that I wrote was that I self-published that I mentioned earlier, started out as a bedtime story that I told to my daughter when she was like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I used to tell her invisible stories, which is basically like a story that doesn't exist. She'd say, tell me an invisible story, and I would make one up. So, and sometimes they were really good. And one night I told her this one story and I was like, oh, pretty good. So I like jotted it down, and then I always would kind of think of it and think like, I want to make that into a little book. So one year for Christmas, I took photos of my daughter and some of her friends as the characters in this story and put it together and made a little book online and gave it to my family for Christmas. One of those like $25 a book sort of thing.
Yeah.
Not something you could go out and sell.
Yeah.
But I always had it in the back of my mind, like that would be really cool if I could have that, make that into a book and like people could buy it. So then COVID happened and I was home and not able to work. And I sat down to work on my creative projects. At the time I was writing a screenplay. And instead, what kind of showed up for me and my inspiration in that moment was, let me turn this into a real book. So I kind of re-edited all the design, re-edited the copy, re-edited the whole thing and made it a physical book. I found a printer, the only printer in the US that prints board books, because I wanted it to be made in the US. Didn't want to go, somewhere overseas where I just didn't know. So that happened. My goal was to have this book in this small little bookshop in my town. And I made it happen. And I was like, that's a success. That was a creative success.
Yeah.
So then I wasn't like, oh, now I'm a children's book author. Like that was never my goal. It just happened organically. Same thing with this book. Long story short, we had a Christmas tree one year that we put out on the side of the road, and I thought, I didn't really like appreciate the life of this tree. Like we essentially murdered a tree, put it in our yard or in our house for a decoration, and then threw it out. And I was like, I should honor the life at least and spend time with it and recognize that that was a being. So I said to myself, I'm going to do that next year. So the following year came and we had a tree and I spent time with it. I just made sure I had like designated time where it was just me and the tree, and I was like appreciating its life and thanking it. And I'm a big Eckhart Tolle fan, if you know who he is. And he teaches a lot about your beingness, like your inner beingness, and connecting that with others and with nature. So I practiced that, and I was like feeling my beingness and connecting it with the beingness of the tree. And I was like, this feels really good. And at the same time, I know that this tree is like slowly dying in front of me and its life was given for me. And I thought like, this feels like a really good thing. How could this be good? And the idea for this story came to me in that moment. Either it was through the tree, through the universe, through my muse, however, my higher self, whatever, wherever those things come from. The vision of like the culmination of this story came to me in an image. And I thought that would be a great animated short film. So I jotted it down. And a year later, I sat down to write it, and it came out as I'm writing it as this rhyming book. So I thought, okay, it's a book first.
Okay.
Then it's a screenplay. So that's how it's how it happened. I just like fell into this. Like I never set out to be a writer. I never set out to be an author. I had no background in publishing. So then it was like, what do I do with it? How do I get it out in the world? I don't want to self-publish this one. I knew I wanted an illustrator. And so that's a whole other story then, how I like followed my heart and just kind of, took it one step at a time and had faith and stayed true to the story and to, my integrity around it. And I became the midwife for it coming out in this way. So
I love that. So we need to share that story. Like that needs to be front and center, the Instagram account. I'm so glad you told me that, because that needs to be what you talk about. Like, no, you're not a children's book author. You are a creative who experienced something and then brought it to life. And then that's going to be what gets you the deal for the movie.
Okay.
Like that. I'm like, take my money. Like, let's fucking go. That's good. That's very good. So we need to like talk about that story needs to be front and center. And even if you're like, oh my God, I told it like 4 times already, tell it more. Like every 12 days of Christmas style, like tell it every fucking day, because that's what's going to connect people. Like that beautiful story of like you being like, because I think so many people feel that like around Christmas. I feel that I get itchy because of the waste. I'm like, this seems like it's supposed to be happy, but like, what about all these other things? Like, what about the tree that's dying? What about all the wrapping paper? Like, I think that's something that people are really connecting with lately, and talking about that is going to be huge. So I would say if we're talking content strategy, there needs to be 3 pillars for your content. And they need to be the grandmas, the educators, and that story.
Okay.
And every week you have to talk about all 3.
Okay.
Especially around Christmas. I would say from like October till Christmas Day, every day.
Wow. Okay.
I know, right? It's a full-time job.
It is.
But once you get past your initial, like, oh my God, that's a lot, it starts to flow. You start to get better at it. You start to see what works and what doesn't. I don't know if you are anywhere near TikTok, but I kind of feel like this would be, if you're into it, something that could really blow up on there.
Yeah.
If you're up for it. Although a TikTok in America, I think not necessarily has the longest shelf life. So whatever, even if you're just,
I don't know. I'm not saying no to that. I don't know that I have the bandwidth. I've never used it. My daughter has it, who's 16. She can teach me everything. I don't know. That seems like a lot, but I don't want to say no either to any,
Fair enough. I would say start with what you have. Start with Instagram, start with Facebook. If you are like starting to get the hang of it, easy breezy, you're posting every day, you're like, this is starting, like I'm getting the feedback I'm wanting, I feel like I know it's working, then jump into another thing, but not at this moment.
Yeah.
But I would say like the more you can get on podcasts, the more you can get on children's anything where you can talk to the people who are like helping kids. So parents, grandparents, educators, all of these people, the more places you can get your face and the cover of that book, the better. And I know that you're doing it in person, but even online, right? Like leading up to it, like if you start approaching podcast people now, then it could be live close to Christmas, right? And even throughout the year, like that's something that I think that you could, pre-record this and they could be like, you could pitch it to podcasters and be like, listen, you're going to have really good content with a call to action or like a book giveaway or something like right at the beginning of Christmas time, then they don't have to think about it, right? Like you could all season record these podcasts and then people could just post them. Because I know that people who have podcasts are always like, oh man, got to make sure I have my next person lined up, my next thing lined up. So I would say that's a huge like area you could, especially because it like seems really relevant right now. Like a lot of people are experiencing grief. A lot of families are changing. Like there just seems to be like a lot of like unease in the world, and something like this, like think of it not like I'm trying to sell books. Think of it like I'm giving a lifeline to families who like really need to be able to talk about these things. And then I think you'll be so successful with it.
Awesome.
So are you ready for some homework?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Do I need to get a pen?
Oh, I can send you the recording and then you can write it down if you want. Okay. So my homework for you would to be by the end of this week to go on and tell this story and shift your page over. So anything that doesn't match with this, just archive it. Don't delete it because Instagram keeps that data. Archive anything that doesn't match, make a post about the book, and then tell this story. So that would be like by the end of this week would be my homework for you. And then going forward, even if you just take a calendar and like with a little highlighter, mark out every single week, I want to talk at least once directly to like the grandma ideal client, once to the educator ideal client, and once about this story, and map that out until the end of Christmas so that you know what you got to do. And you can pre-make these posts, right? Mm-hmm. You can pre-make them and post them. You know that you do content, but I would say this would be my homework for you. And then at the end of this wild Christmas season, because it's going to get crazy, it's going to get busy, you're going to be on all these things, like make sure you show behind the scenes of you at all these readings. Like every single one, have either your phone set up on a tripod or somebody filming you and post the shit out of that. Mm-hmm. Like we want to show it's like a whole thing. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, circle back, like in January when you caught your breath, look at it and be like, okay, this is what worked. This is what didn't, and make a big plan for the next year. That's what I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're amazing.
You're welcome. I'm glad it helped. This is like, I think that people get very overwhelmed because they think there's too many things and I don't know what to do, but it's actually, you just got to make it more simple, not more complicated. Mm-hmm. Right? Once you answer a couple questions of things that were getting in your way, like even thinking about like, should I keep it just for this or separating it? Once you have those big questions out of the way, then you can actually do the action, which I think is super duper important. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So to everybody who's listening, I hope this was helpful. And I hope that you can see now how easy it is when you and I get in a room to just talk this stuff out. We are doing this together, actually, called the Visionary Brand Intensive. And we're doing this for November 15th to December 15th. And we're going to do this, and then I'm going to hold you accountable. So if you were in this group, I would be like, okay, show me your 3 posts. What did you do? And then you could come in and be like, hey, I wrote this post to the grandma. Does it make sense? And we could workshop it and go forward. So that's why we're doing these example podcasts. So I can greatly explain to my ideal client what kind of things we do, right? If I'm showing you what I'm doing, it helps. So we are doing that. If you're listening to the podcast and you're like, hell yeah, I need that, send me a DM, jump on my website, whatever you got to do. But I want to hear from you in January. Like I want you to write me an email, do something. Maybe we can do a follow-up podcast, but I want to hear how it went. And I also really want one of the books. So I think that we should definitely do this because I'm really, really intrigued now. And I want to hear more. And I'm so excited. So thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank
I very much appreciate
Stephanie. Should I tell you the name of the book?
Yes.
It's To Be a Christmas Tree.
To Be a Christmas Tree. Okay. I'm going to put the link to it. Hopefully it's worldwide. If you can give me a worldwide link, that would be the most ideal. Otherwise, we'll put the link in the show notes for it so people can buy it, because I think that a lot of families need this right now. So
thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Everybody who's listening, make sure that you follow the podcast and share it with a friend. And if you have a beautiful story you want to tell, slide into my DMs. I want to hear from you. That's a wrap, friends. If you're ready to finally embody the brand you've been dreaming of, it's time to make your move. And hey, don't keep this to yourself. Hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend who's ready to step it up and own their power too. Let's build these empires together.